We call to your attention a very interesting theme. Today, we will continue the work with spongy rubber, which is called Foamiran. We will make of this material a flower-cornflower. We tried that the program will be easy and accessible, and so we hope that following our instructions, any beginner from the first will create such flower for himself or as a gift for the friends. Hello, my name is Natasha Fochtina, and I'm glad as always to welcome you in our studio. Today we have the most interesting lesson. We will make a flower-cornflower of a new material which has come to us from Iran. This is Foamiran, or as many masters who work with it name it, simple foam. Generally, foam ever is not any mysterious material, but only the simple rubber very light in plastic. Ethylene and vinyl acetate form the foam from which the Foamiran turns out. Thanks to it, it has got those remarkable properties for which many masters who are engaged in making of artificial flowers liked it. This material is simply created for this purpose. And also I notice that all masters have their own roses and life lengths. I, for example, learned to make flowers from Foamiran on various master classes, but have gradually added to this process my own ideas and life lengths which I share with you. You, I'm sure, adapt all it under yourself, under your taste and creative imagination. For example, you will think up any new method of a flower assemblage or a toning, or will think up any other thing from this material, or will try to gather it with the other unusual materials. All is in your hands. Imagination is good. Nevertheless, I suggest you to back to reality and to begin today's work with Foamiran with making cornflower. So, we begin with the first variant of making of a flower-cornflower. For work, we need to prepare 3 sheets of Foamiran, dark blue, violet and green color. I notice, to make this flower we have to do difficult enough spade work, as each petal of this flower we make separately. By the way, we shouldn't cut out them by means of scissors. I suggest to use a figured puncher. Its knives already have the set form, and we need only to cut down it on any material. In our case, this is foam. I pay your attention that Foamiran is spongy rubber, in other words, quite elastic material inclined to stretching. Therefore, during the work with the puncher, there can be problems. In other words, it can tear and not cut off the details. To get rid of this problem is very simple. It's necessary to take a sheet of paper, to put it to Foamiran, and together with it to make a detail cutting. As they say, all ingenious is simple. You need to prepare about 20 such details, though it's possible and more. All depends on what large flower you want to make. If you have the required quantity of dark blue flowers, it's possible at once to pass to their reform to cornflower petals. For this purpose, we need to cut as much pieces of a thin floristic wire as well as the prepared details from Foamiran, and at once to begin their assemblage. We take a piece of a wire and put it half and half. We have the hairpin which we pierce through a dark blue flower in the center. Further, we bend foam backwards from a hairpin and begin to rub it by fingers. We remember that at heating Foamiran changes and remembers that form which we set to it. As a result, we have such petal. I've decided to make this cornflower with petals on wires to get rid of work with glue. After all, for Foamiran is necessary the super glue which instantly sets and keeps small details. And for this reason, not all like to work with it, as it is possible to correct or do and use something in the course of flower assemblage, and it's not recommended to work with such structures with the children. The variant which I show you is simple enough, but if you want that your flower nevertheless will be strong and you decided to use it as a brooch, I advise to you to add a glue drop in places of joint of a wire hairpin and petals. And also, I want to add about details, which we cut out by means of a figured puncher. It's completely not obligatory that you will have such flowers. In other words, that the puncher will be with such stencil as at me. There are punchers with flowers which have longer petals. There are in the form of the sun, but it doesn't matter, as after you will rub them in fingers, there won't be the difference. So, if you have a fair number of petals on wire stem, we can safely pass to making of the middle of the flower. For this purpose, we need to cut off a strip of Foamiran of violet color and to cut it fringe using the scissors. The thinner will be the fringe, the more interesting and naturalistic the flower will look. We should roll a ready fringe and glue it to fix. We do it by any glue with which it's possible to work with rubber. And further, there is my favorite operation. We light a candle and over its flame we vivify the flower middle, making a fringe more thin and a tassel fluffy. It's necessary to work with fire carefully. You don't need to bring a detail from Foamiran close to a flame, it can flash. Therefore, it's necessary to fix a detail on a wire or to keep it by tweezers at burning, and on no account don't keep it in hands, or that it's possible to burn ourselves. And one more advice. That the tassel from a fringe won't stick together, it's necessary to blow on it periodically, like this. If the middle and petals are ready, we pass to flower assemblage. We fix the middle to a wire, there will be a stem, and around it we lay our dark blue petals on hairpins. The more petals you put, the more magnificent will be your flower. If you are happy with that has turned out, fix petals, you can make it simply wind them around with thread or a thin wire. And at this stage our flower is ready, and it's necessary to form a stem, to prepare the leaves and to make a cup. We cut out the leaves from green Foamiran and put to the hot iron that they will get the form. Further, we take a tape of green color, tear off a piece and pull in different directions that it becomes sticky. By the way, if you want that the flower stem looks more real, it's possible to cut off the edge of a floristic tape by a zigzag scissors, and already after that to stretch it and to wind with it a stem of our cornflower without forgetting to fix to it 2 leaves. And we only need to tint the ready flower. It's easier to make it by means of a pastel and a damp napkin. For example, I've applied on the stem and flower leaves a little brown color, and on dark blue petals, dark blue, and after these manipulations, my cornflower looks as real.
Мой василек смотрится как живой.
I think that after you make such flower, you understand how this process is complex and labor-consuming. And probably you won't have a desire to continue this work to create the whole bouquet of these wonderful flowers. I tell the truth, I don't really like the variant of making of a flower from separate petals, as it takes a lot of time, and you don't make such flower with children, there are many details. For this reason, I offer you the second variant is more simple than the first. But the cornflower on this simplified technology will be not such naturalistic, but no less beautiful than we have already made. But for work we need 4 sheets of Foamiran of different colors: dark blue, violet, pink and green. We begin our work. We need to take the compasses and to make 2 big patterns. One big, another is somewhat less. For example, I have one pattern of 5 centimeters and the second is 4.8. I notice that it's not necessary to make the big difference between circles. It's quite enough 2 and 3 millimeters to vivify a flower. We put paper patterns to sheet of dark blue Foamiran and circle them by a pencil. Basically, it's enough 2 details to make a flower, but if you want that it will be the same lush as at me, circle the big pattern by a pencil 3 and the smaller patterns 2 times. You should have such 5 preparations. These preparations we should cut out using a zigzag scissors, thereby we will designate at once the edge of a cornflower petals. Besides the dark blue preparations, we need one more round pink in diameter of 3 centimeters. We also cut it out by a zigzag scissors from Foamiran and cut a fringe on a circle without reaching the preparation center a little. Further, we take our dark blue circles, put them on a rubber self-repair carpet, and by means of a metal ruler and a model knife, we cut slightly that we will have 8 petals on one pattern. Then, we cut each petal on 3 parts. In other words, on each petal we do 2 cuts on centimeter by means of a model knife. We need to cut slightly all 5 dark blue circles in such way. Further, we need each of these incised details to put to the iron. The pink circle we simply put and heat up, and the dark blue put and heat in. We wrap here so between palms that they become live. At this stage, it becomes clear what for we cut the circles on petals. Besides the petals, we need to make by means of the iron the details for a flower cup. In other words, it bowls leaves. We cut them down with the help of a figured puncher from green Foamiran and put to the iron that they become volume. At this stage, it's possible to cut out from foam 2 leaves and having put them to the iron and heating, to put aside to the other details of our cornflower to begin to form its middle. I notice that I make the middle of this flower just in the first variant. In other words, we should cut a strip of violet color Foamiran, a fringe, roll it, glue and take over a hot candle that it become more fluffy. So, if all details of our flower are ready, it's possible to pass to its assemblage. At first, we fix by means of super glue a floristic wire to the middle. There will be a stem of our cornflower, on which we begin to thread our circles. In other words, the details with petals. At first, there are 2 small, then 3 big dark blue circles, and finish our assemblage by a pink detail. I notice that before you thread the next circle, necessarily put in its middle a glue drop, that the flower becomes stronger. If the flower is ready, we need to make it base. We take a little foil and wind it with 1.5 centimeter of a wire on the flower. In other words, make a bulge. Further, we take a piece of floristic tapes to cover up under it a foil, and at once we begin to thread on a wire green flowers, which we heat it up on the iron that they become volume. We glue them one on another and get balls leaves such as we have got used to see at cornflowers. And we only need to take a piece of tape and to wind with it all stem of the flower, attaching to it in the course of a winding two leaves. And as a result, we have such nice flower-cornflower, which we only need to tint with a pastel, which is easier to apply using a damp napkin. We apply a brown pastel on the stem and leaves, and dark blue we tint petals. You can manage and without this operation, but in my opinion, such flower looks more interesting and naturalistic. And it seems to me that today I have told you everything that I wanted about how it's possible using Foamiran to create two enough naturalistic flowers, cornflowers. In my opinion, this program has turned out enough simple, and I'm sure that you with ease will cope with creation of such flower or another which you will plan to make for yourselves or as a gift for the friends. And also, I add, if you don't have for a moment this most porous magic rubber, don't be upset. After all, the cornflowers which we have made today, you can quite create from a paper, for example crepe, and from felt. Anyway, you will get great pleasure from work. I'm simply sure in it. After all, nothing can be more exciting than to make something with your own hands, and so nice when it happens. And on it, I say goodbye to you, to new ideas. With you there was Natasha Fokhtina. Good luck and goodbye.